の子だ早くなるお前のフォンさまよ心今熱く持ってる全てとかし無残に飛び散るはずさ俺との愛を守るためお前は旅立ち明日を
Minasan, ohayou gozaimasu. Welcome back. I am just your friendly neighborhood gaijin ass, Eric, and we're back again today. It's April something, in April, around the 20th, and we're back today to talk about this and that. Now, outside my room, across the street from our apartment complex, is an elementary school, and they're playing their morning music, the morning tunes. It's a lot of Disney-oriented stuff. I'm curious if you can hear that or not, because I hear it very clearly. I also hear a lot of screaming and chanting. So if you're lucky enough to get that on your recording, please enjoy. There's all kinds of wacky stuff going on in the world. Lots of wacky stuff, wacky things in Japan. We're going to talk about a couple of them today, ever so briefly. So, let's go ahead and get started with that. Let's see our first thing here from Tokyo Reporter. If you don't know Tokyo Reporter, you need to get on it. This is a super, super cool website. They have all kinds of good shit. And today's headline, or yesterday's headline, is Yakuza Boss nabbed for shoplifting apples, watermelon in Nagoya. A Yakuza boss. Not some little chimpura or some little punk, but a Yakuza boss. Let's read more, shall we? Look at these beautiful apples. Okay. Aichi Prefectural Police have arrested a gang boss for allegedly shoplifting fruit and other items from a grocery store in Nagoya, reports the Mainichi Shimbun. So Nagoya is a pretty big city in between Osaka and Tokyo. At 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, Masato Gunji, the 55-year-old boss of a gang affiliated with the Kobe Yamaguchi-gumi, allegedly shoplifted a total of 64 items valued at 25,357 yen. So that's like $240-ish. Including apples, watermelons, and daily necessities from the store located in a shopping mall located in Higashi Ward. Gunji, who has been charged with theft, denies the charges. "I have money, I didn't do it," the suspect is quoted by police. Just prior to the incident, Gunji entered the store with two other gang members and proceeded to fill two baskets with various items. They then exited the store without paying. A female security guard, 48, subsequently ordered the group to stop after they had loaded the items into their vehicle in a parking lot. So this guy's a Yakuza boss, and him and his buddy, or buddies, load up a bunch of baskets and leave the store. And the best bit is it's a female security guard, a 48-year-old female security guard who stops them. Oh, I'm sure their friends are going to love that shit. They're going to love that story. I don't know. That's a lot of stuff to forget to pay about. Like, you know, occasionally you go into a store, you pick up some items, and you grab an item, and maybe you just absentmindedly slip it in your pocket as you pick up another item. Absentmindedly. And yeah, you forget to pay for it. It happens occasionally. Not occasionally, but it has happened. But $240 worth of stuff, including apples and watermelons. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's an accident. I think old Gunji-kun here, is in a world of trouble. Yakuza boss shoplifts apples. How fucking ridiculous is that? Okay, that's stupid news. What else have we got? Let's see this. What's this? Okay. So, in Nagoya, also Nagoya, you hive of scum and villainy. A man stomps 2 cats to death after losing bets on horses. See, this kind of shit pisses me off. Why do you have to stomp on a cat? That is a dick move, man. Let me catch a guy stomping on a cat in my area. Take his leg out. So this guy, this jerk, was caught on camera stomping and killing 2 cats. He violated the animal protection law. Man, what a fucking piece of shit. I wanted to take my mind off losing at horse racing, the suspect was quoted. Yeah, I'll help you take your mind off your horse race losses, you piece of shit. Anyway, so if you guys don't read Tokyo Reporter, definitely check it out. Aside from all the salacious gossip and news, it's got tons of disgusting escort advertisements for the on the piss horny gaijin or whoever. Sometimes they actually do have some cool news. It's few and far between. Ooh, look, Ken Watanabe is having an affair while his wife fights cancer. Stand up, fellow. I think we're going to stick with the... Ooh, wait a minute. Hyogo cops? Hyogo cops. Bodies of man, daughter found in likely murder-suicide. Oof. Salacious. Hyogo Prefecture. Where is that? I don't know. I'm sure some well-educated Japanophile can make a comment and educate me. It's in Japan. I'm fairly certain of that. So, the man is... How old is the guy? 40? Oh, and his daughter. So, who killed who? Well, the daughter's 4, so I doubt she took out her father. Another piece of shit. Cat stomping and baby girl murdering. What a scumbag. Yeah, this is not brightening my day. Sorry about this, people. The Apple story was pretty funny, but this is rather dark, Japan. Rather dark. Not liking that. Yeah. I mean, have you ever shoplifted in Japan? I have. Me. I have. Definitely I have. Back in the day, it was SOP, shoplifting stuff, and yeah, we were all complete idiots and totally stupid. One acquaintance of mine who goes off the high rope, he got busted for shoplifting Red Bulls. He was shoplifting Red Bulls from the same place on the regular, and they finally caught him, cornered him, and said, "Give us energy drink." And he had to give it up and whatever. I think he paid like $40 or something. It wasn't such a huge deal. I have seen Gonzo back in the day before he checked out. He would walk into places and put entire bottles of sparkling white wine into his pants, walk out the door, and literally in front of the door, pop the bottle and start pouring it into his gullet. So that was mature. And, of course, nothing bad could ever come of that. And then one time he and I ate at this izakaya and realized in the last moment that neither of us had any money. I thought he had money. I was going to get him to pay. He thought I had money, and he was going to get me to pay. Yeah. And anyway, it didn't work out, so we wound up dashing out on our check. And as we actually got outside, we went around the block, though, because we were drunk. And the guy had already gotten the cops. And they were walking up to us. I simply continued to walk off. Luckily, was able to hail a cab and jump in very fluidly without running. And the cab took me away. Whereas, as I was pulling away, I looked back and saw Gonzo standing there like an idiot with the 2 cops getting him. Apparently, they walked him to an ATM, made him take out some money and pay the bill. That's a pretty cool way to handle things, I guess. Okay, so that's the news in Japan. Aside from Yakuza Boss Gunji-kun stealing apples, some dick stomping cats, and some loser killing his daughter and then waxing himself. Other news in Japan would be warships, Japanese warships steaming towards North Korea. Nothing that could go wrong there, The seas around North Korea full of American, Japanese, South Korean, and Chinese military. Not to mention North Korea right there. I'm sure that's going to be fine. So no problems there, everybody. Let's see. Moving along. The real thing I want to touch on today is twofold, because they're both really interesting and they're kind of connected, I think. And I think it was Eddie Izzard who, in one of his stand-ups, said that, like, in America, Americans don't value their history. They tear it all down. You guys tear it down, man. And anything old, any building that's a little old or whatever gets torn down and you build a parking lot over it. There's some areas where this isn't the case necessarily. And the only areas I've run into where it hasn't been the case have been in the southeast of America. So down south, Southerners seem to kind of like their old stuff, and they seem to kind of take care of it better than people up north. I know there's a lot of old institutions up north, particularly Ivy League schools, etc. But what are those? Those are just basically snotty, stuck-up country clubs with textbooks that rich people or people pretending to be rich send their kids to, so their kids can get white elitist educations from people who hate white elitist whites. You work on that. You figure that out. So, I don't know. As far as CONUS goes, being in the mainland of the United States, I hat tip to the southeast. I know a lot of people, especially a lot of people here, since the majority of expats here are liberals, they have a natural dislike for the southeast. But I have a natural like for it. I'm not going to live there. That's not in the cards, I don't think. But I like that they still have a lot of old stuff, culturally and physically, and they don't just burn it and throw it away. They kind of hold on to it. Japan does the same thing. Now, Japan is known for changing, and it can change rapidly, but at the same time, when Japan decides to hold on to something, they will hold on to it to the bitter end, and they don't give a shit what anyone else really has to say about it. And in some ways, I like that. Some ways, it's infuriating. Like when you look at education, it can be infuriating. But when it comes to cultural stuff, I don't mind it, and I appreciate it, actually, because it's something my own country doesn't really do. So, things to talk about real quick. Excuse me. First, let's start with the United States. Here we are. So this is from Zero Hedge. Snipers protect workers in New Orleans as they remove the Confederate flag. Okay, maybe you know, maybe you don't know. Confederate flag, it's not the most popular thing in town, but what does it symbolize? Okay, first let's see what's going on. Sometimes the headline says it all. On Monday, the Washington Post ran an article entitled, "New Orleans removes a tribute to the lost cause of the Confederacy with snipers standing by." On the same day that some southern states were honoring their rebel heritage, masked workers in New Orleans dismantled a monument to the past, chunk by chunk, under darkness and the protection of police snipers. Okay. So apparently they took down a monument over there that had the Confederate flag on it. The Confederate flag was the flag of the Confederacy during the Civil War. Duh, right? Okay. Now, a lot of people listening to this are probably going, "Yay, yay, yay, we hate slavery." Yeah, no shit. Nobody likes slavery. We figured out it was a bad idea, and we had a civil war about it. No one likes slavery. Except for Africa, because they still do it over there in some places. Oh, and some Islamic countries. But let's get real. No one in the West wants to have slaves. It's an antiquated, ridiculous, cruel concept, and it's over. So this holding on to it is bullshit. Next, let's address some realities. The Civil War wasn't fought for slavery. Okay? The Civil War, from the South, they wanted independence from the North. And that's what all these guys went and fought for. There were no poor Southern men signing up for the infantry going, Yeah, gotta keep them niggers down. So they signed up to go die. That's not how it went. They went and fought for their families and for independence in the South. I'm not going to get into all the economic bullshit behind slavery because it's been covered a million times. Let's just be honest about why most people in the South fought. It was for their family and for their homeland, and they didn't want to be told what to do from the North. It's very simple. It's a simple idea. If you are not willing to fight for your family and your home when someone else comes to take it or tell you how to live your life, then I don't know what to say to you. You're a pussy, and you've got no backbone, and you've got no principles. So consider that. So anyway, they take down this monument. A lot of people in America associate the Confederate flag with white supremacy and with slavery. And, it's been attached to that. Certain white supremacist groups from the South have used the Confederate flag. But then again, certain black power groups that are violent have used the image of a Black Panther. But we're not running around town tearing those down. So anyway, the short form of this story is very simple. For most people in the South, the Confederate flag is a flag that resembles the South. And it resembles the war that was fought and the people that died. If you had ancestors who died in the war, that flag still represents their death. It still represents your family's sacrifice. And, the South was completely decimated, just decimated after the war. They lost everything. And I know a lot of people are going, good, I'm glad they lost everything. Those slave-loving pieces of shit. 99% of the people in the South didn't have slaves. Okay, they didn't have slaves. They had nothing to do with slavery. They were fighting for the family and for the land. That's it. Okay, and I can understand that. And I think everyone in the South now, 99.9% of those people there are anti-slavery. Are anti-slavery. And here's another point. I've lived in the South. I've lived in South Carolina, and down there, the level of integration between black people and white people, it was much more natural. It was much less tense than anything I ever encountered in California. When I lived in California, there was constant racial tension in Los Angeles. It was constant. When you had black guys roll down in Orange County, when I lived in Orange County, nobody felt comfortable about that. It was tangible. It was really weird. In the South, this is allegedly like hotspot of racism. It never felt strange because your black people and white people there are the same. The only difference is their skin color. They eat similar foods, they talk similarly, their music isn't that different, and they worry about similar things. Whereas in California, the racial spectrum was ridiculous, and it was constant tension. So this really liberal, progressive place, Southern California, it's one of the most racist places I've ever been to. And I live in Japan. They're not terribly progressive about race. So anyway, we got Confederate flag. Now, let's go on, let's look at this. This is Yasukuni Shrine. It's found in Tokyo. So you might have heard of Yasukuni Shrine. It's in the news and out of the news, off and on, for different reasons. But the big deal is there's a lot of guys that died in World War II that are buried or they're enshrined at Yasukuni Shrine. And a lot of prominent Japanese politicians go to Yasukuni Shrine, and they do that to pay homage to these guys who died. So let's review that real quick. Yasukuni Shrine is not a symbol of Japanese hegemony or Japanese violence abroad or Japanese imperialism or Japanese racism or any of that bullshit. Okay? That's not what it is. What it is we can read below. Okay, the shrine is a national religious institution in Japan. Since 1869, it has honored the souls of those who have died in the service of Japan. so it mostly contains military men, but also some classes of civilians who've died in wartime. These include merchant seamen and workers in bombed munition factories, but people in the general population killed, say, by Allied bombing in World War II. Or, I'm sorry, not people killed by general bombing. In Shinto religion, the souls become kami, or revered spirits. The word can be translated as gods, but perhaps the word saints is the most appropriate word in the Western religious lexicon. So it's a holy place for millions of Japanese who lost relatives fighting for their country. Wow, that's pretty easy to understand, isn't it? All they had to do was slap the word religious on it, and the next word Japanese, and the third word Shinto, and basically every liberal Western person that hears that is going to wet their pants and say, oh, of course. Oh, yeah, it's Japanese, it's Shinto, it's religious. That's fine. They can keep that. The Confederate flag is the same thing. It's a representation of the people who died fighting for their family and fighting for the Confederacy. That's all it is. It's not this epic symbol of racism. Okay? And however uncomfortable this might be for some people to deal with, that's the reality. This is why leaders from Japan keep going to Yasukuni Shrine, and they're not going to bulldoze it. They're not going to turn it into a parking lot. Japan's not going to do that. Okay? So the thing is, from 2.4 million of the souls enshrined there, we could see here, about 1,000 war criminals from World War II are there. 1,000 war criminals, yeah? And these are guys who were convicted and executed by Allied war tribunals or who died in jail. And that's, I guess, the big bone that China and Korea have to pick with it, because they consider those war criminals real baddies. Yeah, so some heinous shit definitely went on. We're thinking rape of Nanking. We're thinking comfort women. We're thinking those are bad things, because they are. But the men who were involved in those things were still fighting for the Japanese. They were still Japanese warriors, and they were still fighting for the Japanese. And just because they were convicted as war criminals doesn't necessarily mean they were actively slaughtering babies. Okay? It's a horrible situation, yes. But there's a certain amount of historical reverence that you can't give away if you want people to continue to be loyal to you. Okay? Like, for example, there are groups in the U.S. military where the big thing is no one left behind. No one gets left behind. So even if you're wounded, even if you die, and we have to leave you at that moment because you're dead and we can't hump you out the next 20 miles, we're going to come back and find your body. We're going to do that, and we're going to take you home, because ultimately no one gets left behind. And for warfighters, there's some solace in that. There's some solace in knowing that your bones are going to go back to where you came from, and then they're not going to rest in some foreign land, that your country's not going to turn its back on you. Now, if Japan were to say, you know what, sorry, you guys were fighting the war, and the shit that you did it fell in line with what we were doing at the time, but now, you know, we need to cut you off, so your souls are fucked. Enjoy hell, or whatever the equivalent of that is in Shinto, because we've got to turn our back on you. You know, if that happens, what's going to happen with future generations? Are they going to want to fight for their country? Are they going to take any of this shit seriously? Any of it? If we knew that our own military would cut us off and leave us, that's why the issue of POWs left in Vietnam is such a big deal. Because it's that idea that the military is just going to leave you behind. They're just going to leave you to rot. And that is fucking terrifying. And it can be, you could extrapolate that and pull it out over a longer period of time. And it can also apply spiritually. Now everyone says, well, in Japan, there's no religion. Japanese people go, "Oh, I'm not religious." That is bullshit. They're some of the most religious people I've ever encountered. I've been here 13 years. They're wildly religious. Every home, every Japanese home has shrines to worship dead ancestors. And a lot of the Japanese people I dealt with actively tend to those shrines. During Obon in August, they go to graves. They actually wash the graves. They put down fresh flowers. They light incense. When people die, everyone, basically everyone I've encountered, goes and takes part in all the Buddhist rituals. Okay? Everyone goes to temple. Everyone goes to shrine at New Year's. Not everyone, but a huge majority of the people do. That's all religious. And anti-religious people say, it's just culture. It's spirituality. That's Buddhism and Shinto. They're being spiritual. So they're incredibly religious. This is one of the most religious spiritual countries I've ever been to. They take it really seriously. Why can't the South take it seriously? The Confederate flag is just a symbol of racism? No, it's not. It's a symbol of a war. It was a symbol of a struggle. It's a symbol of people who died. And it's a symbol of the South. And the really shitty part is the South is losing that war. They're just letting people take away their culture. Yeah, take it away, take it away, take it away. Impose your new bullshit pseudo-culture on us. That's what's happening. And it's disgusting. And that is one thing I will forever salute Japan about. Japan sticks to its guns. They ignore outside pressure. And in some ways that's suicidal, but in other ways it's absolutely spectacular. And it's something that a lot of other countries, particularly in the West, could take notes on. My Gaijin ass 2 cents. Yeah. So are they going to bulldoze Yasukuni and build a goddamn a hot dog stand? No, I don't see that happening. So good on them. Keep Yasukuni. And just let the Chinese seethe. Okay, that's it for today. That's the sum up. Gunji-kun with the apples and the watermelons. Yasukuni Shrine and the Confederate flag. Whatever you think. You got comments. You want to have an argument. That's fine. Please put your comments in the comments section. This is all just my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people have controversial and different opinions than mine. So if you like it, please subscribe. And again, check out gaijinass.com. We're writing on there a lot. We got a little team of contributors, and we're trying to put up legit, real content. If you got a bug in your mind, and there's something that you've always wanted to write about, something you've always wanted to talk about Japan, but you've never had a platform, we'll give you a platform. DM me. You can hit me up on YouTube, also at gaijinass on Twitter, or you can get at us on our Facebook fan page, and give us your idea. If you can write it, we can edit format and throw it up on the website. Okay? So that's about it today. I'm going to sign out. I've got to go do deadlifts. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and comment below. Tell me how I'm wrong. Convince me. Show me your knowledge.